Hey, how's it going, guys? So, I've actually been asked how to make realistic looking fire, and I'm going to kind of touch base on that here, so hopefully this will help y'all out. First thing you're going to want to do is download Krita. It's free software, it's really good. You can literally just type in Krita at the top, and it's going to be the first one. This is what this site should look like. It's up to par with Photoshop, so if you don't have Photoshop, this is actually a good alternative to use. I've never had any issues with it. First thing we want to do, though, we're going to click on Image, Resize Canvas. I'm just going to make this 256 by 256. I don't think it needs to be anything too spectacular. I'm going to go ahead and change this brush size to 40. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to turn on the background and select it, then make sure that it is black so I can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to click on this little paint bucket tool and fill it in. I'll lock that back into place, click on layer 1, and go back to white. And all I'm going to do is just kind of like, I'm going to click on this brush, this is probably a lot better. This brush will actually give you hard lines, and this one will give you a fall off radius. So if I were to paint with this versus this, that's the difference. So all we're going to do is we're just going to create a real simple shape here in the center. And then I'm just going to start clicking on different things, and all I'm doing is just rapidly clicking. I'm not trying to do anything that's... Let me change the opacity on that real quick. There we go. I'm not trying to do anything that's like super spectacular. I'm just trying to get something that actually looks decent. Actually, that would work really well. Let me go ahead and create a new layer. I'm going to change the size of this down to 150. There we go. So yeah, you can actually just select that brush and paste it down a few times. Let's go ahead and save this as alpha channel. And I'm going to minimize this window. I also need to minimize Unity. I've already opened up my folder, so I'm just going to paste this in here. I'm going to pull up Unity and let this compile. I downloaded a rocks pack, so this way you can see like a little fire pit and get an idea on what it would, something like this would look like. So I'm going to go up to here. I'm going to click on Alpha Channel. Let's see. You want to make sure that I believe we're going to want to keep this as default, but you do want to make sure Alpha is transparent. That is going to be very important, and click on Apply. So from there is what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a new material, and we're just going to call this M Fire, and we're going to bring this up here. The shader, we're going to go down to Particles, and we're just going to go to Standard Surface. Let's go ahead and do a fade. So that should be fine. We'll then click on our particle system. Go ahead and name this real quick. Fire. Come down here, open up Renderer, and we're going to drag our material right here. So now we get this lovely shape, which doesn't look like much, but we'll get there. So the first thing we're going to want to do is edit the shape of this cone. I'm actually going to keep it very close to the center. I'm going to pull this down just a little bit. I'm going to change the simulation speed. Where are you at? Actually, that doesn't look too bad. The only thing is I want to change is the start lifetime. So I'm going to change that to a 1. So this is what we're going to get. It's something kind of like this. Let me make that a little bit wider. Alright, there we go. So after we have done that, is what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to change the color over lifetime. So make sure you have this checked. And we're going to click on this little color bar. And we're going to have several colors in here. The alpha right here, actually we're going to need to create a couple of these. But this one right here will be 0. Create one right here. And this one will be 0. Probably just bring this down and bring this one down. Probably, yeah, that one won't matter. Something like that. And the purpose of this way we can actually see it like fading out. So is what we want to do here is this actually needs to be yellow. There we go. And we'll get some red in there. Click right here real fast. And so all I'm doing is just clicking here, and this one right here will actually end up being black. And this little guy doesn't even need to be here. Now this is a little too dark, so I'm actually going to bring this up right about there. That should be good. Bring this to about here. Let me go ahead and expand these out some. There we go. Yeah, that didn't look too terribly bad. So is what we're going to want to do is we're also going to want to scale over time. Let's see. Size over lifetime. That's what we want. Now you're going to have this little graph that you're going to be editing, and you might be like, well, how do we edit it? I tried clicking on it and nothing happens. All you have to do is just bring this little guy up, click on it, and now you can edit the curves. So right here, let me go ahead and bring this up. Bring that up to right here. Okay. There we go. Alright. Let's see. So the next thing we're going to want to do is yeah, it looks right. Okay. Next thing, we might need to actually end up making the shape a little bit larger. I'm not quite sure I'm feeling that right now. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Make that just a little bit larger, and then the 3D start size, or just the regular start size, let's change that to a 2. There we go. We may come back down here and edit this a little bit more. I'm thinking what I need to do is bring this down about here, and bring that down to about here. And something kind of like that. Now, if you're not quite liking the way that this looks, you can always go back into Krita. Turn the background back on, and what we can do is we can actually change the opacity down to about 30%. Let's come up here, increase this. There we go. Let's go ahead and save that as a PNG. Hit OK. And then we'll minimize Unity and bring that in here and copy and replace, and then we'll come back into Unity. And of course, when you click back on this, that is all set. Click on the M-Fire. That is set. Oh, that's my bad, y'all. I know exactly what I did, or what I forgot to do. I forgot to turn off the background. Boy. So, after that, we can minimize that and then bring this down, copy and replace, come back into Unity, and you'll see that it'll actually change the way the fire looks. So, you can always do it like that. The more white there is, the better it's going to look. I'm going to turn this back on real quick. I'm actually going to click back on this brush. Yeah, this is it. And I'm actually just going to do that. I'm actually going to just start tweaking the crap out of it. Let's see, where's a good texture? Throw a little leaf shape in there, why not? And click on this. Yeah. Come back down here, click on that. Change the size, change the opacity. Oh, wait. There we go. Turn that off first this time. Save. Yes. Okay. Minimize that. and replace. There we go. I'm happy with that. If you don't like the smoke effects, I am going to be tweaking that a lot more. So what I actually need to do now is I need to go into, let's see, we need to create another particle system, and this will be called smoke. And here's what we're going to do. They have actually given us some materials to work with, so I'm actually going to be using those. That is not where they're located. They're located here. We have FX Smoke right here. So I'm going to open this up, and then I'm just going to drag smoke inside of here. There we go. So what I want to do now is I want to come into color over lifetime, and right here this will be a 0. This will actually be black. This first one will just be a really dark gray. There we go. I'm going to turn the alpha down just a little bit on that. And so what I want to do now is go into the, not emission, I want to go into shape. Going to bring the cone down. Going to bring this in. There we go. And I'm also going to change the start size to 3. There we go. That looks good. I'm happy with that. Are you happy with that? I'm happy with that. And lastly, to give it some randomness, I'm actually going to enable noise. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. There we are. And so now we'll click on fire. Go ahead and turn down shape. We're going to look for sub-emitters. We're going to turn that on. Then we're just going to grab smoke. We're going to bring that right in here and say yes, reparent. So now we wait for Unity to compile. I think I just pissed it off. There we go. And so this is a bit excessive, so let me come into smoke, and I'm actually going to come into, not emission, yeah, actually it is emission, I'm going to say 5. You can do it! Alright, so lastly is what we need to do is change the start lifetime. I'm going to say 1. There we go. And now you're going to get this blobbing. It's not really what we are wanting, so this is where we come back into color over lifetime. I'm actually going to bring this up. Come on. Pause that. And so what I can do is I can come in here uninterrupted. Okay, that works. So the alpha on this one will be 0. Yeah. There we go. So now when we play this, it's looking better, but not quite where we are wanting it. So, oh, that's the wrong one. Click on smoke. I'm just going to move this up to about here. And so now when we hit play, yeah, it's better. That's a lot better. I can live with that. You know, kind of, sort of. Let's see. I'm going to click on fire real quick. I'm actually going to get rid of the sub-emitter for the time being. The reason being is that I'm just not liking the way it is. So the way sub-emitters work is actually emit right off of the particle systems themselves. And so the start lifetime is 1, so smoke will actually be a 2. And what we'll do is we'll come into here. We're going to move this up past 50%, and we'll set it right about there. So now, if I have done this correctly, I should be able to turn on sub-emitters. Wait for that to finish doing its thing. We'll see what it looks like. Okay, I think it finished doing its thing, so let's hit play. So it doesn't look too bad. It looks like it's starting a little late. Let's go and hit pause real quick. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to tweak this down. And then I'm going to click on this and bring this down to about 50%, which is where we're going to want. Alright, so now I should just be able to click on fire and hit play. It's a little off, but I think you get the idea by now. The noise looks like it's a little much. One thing that is a little much is going to be the smokes. I'm going to say the smoke size. I'm going to change this down to a 2. And then I'm going to go down and start editing the noise. I don't want so much strength attached to the noise. And actually, I think 3 was a lot better. I'm sure by now y'all are like, damn it, Jimmy, come on, just get to it. Okay. So I'm going to change the strength to a 0.5. And the frequency I'm going to leave alone. I kind of like the way it does move, but I just don't want it moving as much. So that's definitely a lot better. If you keep editing the color over lifetime, you'll see that you can actually get this to match in with that. So what I want to do now is I want to click on the fire. I'm actually going to add some rotation to it. It can definitely give it some. We don't want external forces. I definitely need to turn off the sub emitters for this, so this way this will render faster. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Rotation by speed? Question mark? Yep, that's it. So we're going to do that. We're going to set this as a separate axis. We're going to crank this up to 280. There we go. So now it has some rotation to it like real fire does. There we go. If you come in here and change this to, say, 90, I guess it's not the x-axis we want. It's probably going to be the y. There we go. So it actually has like that twirling effect like you'd expect fire to see. I'm also going to change its speed. I'll change that a little bit. Maybe a 3.5. There we go. I'm going to come down to emission. I'm going to change this to 20. And then I'm going to do size over lifetime. Bring this up. Let's see. I'm going to add another curve in here, and this one will curve like so. Try and match that up with that. Right about there. Let me bring in another one right here. So this will match right about there, and this one will match. Oh, come on. Let's see. There we go. Something like that. Alright. That's looking better. Alright, so what I want to do now is I want to come in and edit this just a little bit more. It doesn't look bad, but it still looks just a little off, so I'm actually going to bring this up just a bit. Alright, size 2.5, 3. Yeah, why not? Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I'm actually going to change the start color. Give it just a little bit more of an orange variant. Right about there. Awesome. And so now is what I want to do is I actually want to do one more sub-emitter. So we have this down here, which is our smoke. See, I don't know if we'll be able to create. Yeah, we will. We should be able to. I don't see why not. Yeah, so that's definitely looking a lot better. I think that's what I am going to do. One thing for sure. So I'm going to click on shape. I'm actually going to bring this cone in just a little bit. I'm going to bring it, oops, bring it down. There we go. Now we're going to create one more particle system. So let's go ahead and create particle system. And is what I want to do, let's see if they have anything that we can use. I'm looking for something that would be like represent as sparks. I don't see anything. I guess we could use these. I mean, sure, why not? So let's go ahead and just say color over lifetime. This one's going to be fairly easy. We're just going to say it's going to start off yellow. And then we're going to click on this one. And this one will basically, it'll be red, why not? The only thing I don't like about this is it doesn't quite have the look I want, so I'm actually going to click on here. I'm going to edit the color. That's just so it makes it a little bit better. And so what I want is I'm actually going to want to turn this emission type into a, not emission, shape into a sphere. So real quickly, anytime you have any kind of shape, I know I said sphere, I meant to say hemisphere, but anytime you have any kind of shape, the shape of it is what's going to be emitting from. So a box will emit from like a box would. If you come in here, a circle will just emit from the circle, an edge would just emit from the edge like that. So I'm going to want a hemisphere, and we're going to want to use a gravity multiplier of 1. And we're actually going to want to change the speed. Let's change that to a 10. There we go. And then the, let's see, the start lifetime, let's change that to a 1. And then is what we want to do, we also need to come into the start color. We actually need to bring these in. Well, this one can stay where it's at. That doesn't matter. I'm going to bring this down right about there, and this one, so let me add a new one and make that down to nothing. So this way they kind of fade out. I probably need to bring that down just a little bit more. There we go. Awesome. Okay, I like that. Alright, so now those are kind of like popping out. We need to change the size. Let's see where you at. Start size, 0.1, 2, 4. Yeah, sure, why not? So we've done that. Change the at. So probably need to change. Probably need to slow down the speed just a little bit. Let's see. Start speed. I'm gonna say 7. There we go. Probably change the gravity modifier to 0.8. So they still kind of pop out a little bit. They're just not as crazy at doing it. Trying to get this more centered. Here we go. And I think I'm actually probably going to want to go in and make my own, because this doesn't look too bad, but I just don't like the way it looks. And so I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. There's several ways you can do it. I'm just trying to figure out the best way that I think would be to do it. Alright, so I'm going to come in here, tiling, 0.5, nope. This one needs to be a 1. This actually needs to be a 0.5. Really help if it was not... If it wasn't like sideways on this and it's just a flat, then that would make it so much better. So, yeah, that was helping. Alright, so... Let's see, we actually need to do some... rotation on it. Where are you at? Rotation, here we go. Let's say 90. Or is it negative 90? Okay, so probably negative 180 would be the best to do. And I'm going to do the same with that, only I'm going to make that negative 90, so this way they kind of like go off in all sorts of different directions. Probably be the best thing to do. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to make them just a little bit smaller. I'm going to make these like a 0.2. And then is what I want to do is on the emission, I'm actually going to change this to something like 25. 18. There we go. And then the start lifetime will be a 0.8. 0.6. Okay, there we go. And so now, I know this isn't super realistic, but if we go into our game, so you can see like the little particles, they're like flying out and everything. The smoke still isn't quite where I want it, so we're just going to click on that real quick. Come in here, move this down, click on this, move this down, about there. Let's hit play real fast and see what it looks like. Yeah, so I'd still need to bring that down just a little bit more. I'm actually going to make the sparks a little bit brighter. In fact, I'm going to change the name to Sparks. And what I'm going to do is come down to, is it under render? It's here somewhere. Cell emitters, triggers, texture sheet, blah 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 blah, lights. So let me go ahead and create a light, not a directional light. That would be obscene. Let's see, light, and we're going to do a point light. Yeah, why not? Okay. Okay, that's just ridiculous. Lights. Just going to be a point light. And we're actually going to come in here and change this. Just drag the light down. Change that. And we can do the same thing with the fire as well. Alright. Now if you spend a little bit more time on this, you could really start tweaking a lot of different aspects of it. I'm just kind of like showing you the real basics on this. In fact, you see how blobby this is? If you go back into the software and you come in here, just do this real fast. So this is literally all our particles going to look like. So just making a few tweaks will definitely change the way it looks, and you'll see that here in just a second. Go back into Unity. And if you really wanted to ramp it up, is what you could do. Is add some gradients in here. Then come back down here. Let's see, I'm not going to want that one. I'm actually going to want this one. Okie dokie. So there's definitely several ways you could do this, but you can see by me just adding that sharpness to it, it really changed the way that it looks. There's several ways you can do to really tweak this. One of the other things that you can do is change the size over lifetime. So if we click on this, We do have our fire selected. I'm actually going to create this right here. I'm going to bring this one down. And I'm probably going to move this one out just a little bit. You can already see how it actually looks like it's emitting from a specific point, and then it's just kind of building up. There's so many different ways you can do to really start tweaking these. That is just absurd. But I hope this did help. That's basically how I create fire. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll actually go in there and look for a fire shape. So an example would be, let me just bring up a window real quick. I'm just going to type in fire image. So I'm going to images. So I'm just going to click on this little guy right here. Oh, and this is a real good size. I'm going to go ahead and download this. Save image as, save, minimize. And so I'm going to actually bring up Krita, import as new layer, and that's what I'm going to do. You know, I probably just need to open that in open a new document. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zoom in on a little section. Let's see. There we go. This shape right here. So let me just select this shape. There we go. Control C. I'll come back in here. Control V. And then what I want to do is anything that's black, I'm getting rid of. So I'm going to click on this little wand tool, click on what's black, hold down Shift, and click on this black area over here. There's some more black right here. And then all I'm going to do is click on this little tool, come up to the top. I'm just going to get rid of this crap, make sure my opacity is at 100. Okay, there we go. Control Shift S. We're going to save this as our alpha channel. Hit OK. I'm going to minimize that. Bring the new alpha channel in. Copy and replace. Come back up to Unity. And this is basically what you end up getting. Of course, I would tweak this a lot more. So you can see like these hard edges and everything. Obviously, you would not want that. Basically, just do that real quick. I'm going to click on this brush, and I actually need this brush right here, so that's why I get soft edges. I'm going to crank that way up. There we go. All I'm going to do is just come along through here, just kind of soften everything out. Change the size. There we go. Control Shift S. Save. Yes. Okay. This will probably still create some bit of an issue, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that as well. We'll save it one more time. Then I'll minimize this. And also the background of the previous alpha channel is going to show through, so expect that. That's basically what you'll end up getting, just with some real quick edits. You can already see that this is a lot softer. It's not as harsh. And you can also further, not change, but you can also go through different settings. So like if I click on the M-Fire right here, right now it's set to fade. You can actually do a additive. And you'd get something like this. So when you click on fire, you know, it gives you a bit of a different look. Unfortunately, whenever there's something that's white behind it, as you can see, it will kind of disappear. So there are several different things that you can do. You can do a cutout, but it literally just cuts out your it just cuts out the shape of it. So normally that's why I always set this to blend. or not blend, but fade, because I think it gives it the best look. And if you were to really edit this, like right now I still have some hard edges in here. Turn off that background. But if you were to actually really go in and take your time editing this shape, you don't have to spend a lot of time. You know, it's nothing that's going to be like whatever. Just give it some nice soft edges in there. And come back down here. Bring this on in here. Copy and replace. And you can already see how this has changed dramatically from what we had before. If you want something that's going to give it a real rough look, as I showed you before, I'm going to turn on the background so I can see what I'm doing. As I've said before, you just simply crank this up and you create different shapes like this. This will actually give you some really, really rough looking fire. Some people might want that depending on what kind of fire they have. Some may not. But we come back into Unity, you can see how this already gives us a way different looking fire. So that's pretty much going to do it for this tutorial. I know it was kind of long, and if I were to really edit this, you would see something that just looks spectacular. But you know, I know that y'all will be able to go through it, and y'all will be able to change all these modification fields, and y'all are going to make something that looks just epic. So I'm not going to go too much in depth. I will talk about some of these though. I've always liked noise because it gives it a little bit of randomness, as you can see. So depending on what you're wanting to do, you can really mess with that some. If you change this down to say a 2, crank up the rate over time, you can get a different look. Trying to think what else you could do. Well, let's just go ahead and play the game and let's see what it looks like inside. I'm kind of curious. So, yeah, that doesn't look too terribly bad. It's kind of weird how when you move the camera around it changes. I don't know if that's normal or not. But, yeah. I think Unreal has better particle systems than what Unity does. I'm not trying to diss Unity, I prefer Unreal's. Anyways, that's going to do it for this tutorial. Until next time, I shall talk to y'all later.